Welcome, ballers, babes who love box scores, and bench warmers. This is Femme, Playbook, the only sports podcast that covers triple doubles and thirst traps. I'm Liv, your host, coach, and unapologetically queer commentator with big opinions and an even bigger crush on Paige Beckers. Hey, divas! How are you? I know you can't answer that, but I ask every single time. Anyway, dude, I don't know, what I was doing when I wrote, I write down my intro because, most of the talking I do on this podcast is, yap and, whatever comes to mind. But for whatever freaking reason, I, did not write stuff down. Sorry. I just got sent something crazy. Life's been crazy. Anyway. For whatever reason, I wrote down my intro wrong, which I never do. So I was a little tripped up there in the beginning. Honestly, that was bad. I'm not gonna lie. I could do better. I wrote "Welcome to Power Femme." I don't say that. That's not what I say. I don't know. I could sit in front of this mic and recite the intro and outro with no issues, but stuff like this happens and it really throws me for a whirl. So. Didn't mean to do that, but, you know. Sorry. I just keep getting some insane text messages. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not locked. I wasn't locked last week. I wasn't locked the week before that. It's just going to keep happening, honestly. Just continue to expect it at this point because that's just life lately. But things have been crazy. Anyway, this week we're talking about the Winter Olympics again. We're actually going to talk about figure skating this time because I got some complaints. But, not like I'm being legit for real. I got some complaints. And, of course, I'm going to talk about, random stuff and Paige Beckers. But, honestly, I didn't know until, today what I wanted to talk about. And then I started, researching. And I entered this whole new, field of stuff I wanted to talk about. So today should be, very interesting. So, you know, every episode is. We're really just here for the plot. But today's going to be an interesting one for sure, and probably really spacey because I had a Red Bull before this, and now I'm drinking a Dr. Pepper, so it's going to be a really interesting one for everybody. I wish I could show you guys my nails because my roommate did my nails, and they're so freaking cute. My other roommate said they were gay, which is the best compliment I could have ever received because that's just constantly, what I strive for. So, anyway, okay. So, one thing I wanted to talk about that just came into my mind 5 minutes ago is I know I talked about my classes that I'm in this semester, whatever, and how I'm going to be writing a lot more, but I'm in a professional writing class, which is a new minor and focus at UIC. And basically the whole purpose of the class is I'm not only in my professional writing minor, but I also have a professional writing class. And the whole purpose of the class is building a portfolio for internships and a future career, which is so sick and so cool. Also, something I just thought of because I'm looking at it right now. I walked into the studio and someone changed the desktop wallpaper to the lesbian flag. So whoever did that, shout out, kudos. You get it. You understand that in this podcast room, we live for lesbians. That's what this is all about. But, pretty much, what was I going to say? I was going to say something, and now it's not coming to me. Because there's people outside the door. No shade thrown. Okay, one thing I want to talk about. In my professional writing class, we had to write a press release. And when I tell you I have so much appreciation for people who do press releases, for people who do, any of that kind of thing. Because, oh my gosh, I was, going into this thinking oh, this is a one-pager, we're going to be so chill. It's literally going to be fine. And it was not easy. It was not easy because once I started writing it, I was oh my gosh, how am I supposed to fit this all in one page? I did mine over the PWHL takeover tour. And when I tell you I struggled immensely because there's so much information. There's so many things I could talk about. And it was one page. And you had to have the logo of the company that you're representing. You had to have a whole slew of contact information. You had to have quotes. You had to have all the information. My professor said you could include directions, which obviously I'm not going to be hop on Redline for about 20 minutes. I can't say that. I don't got time for that. So I ended up putting the address just in the like header, or not the header, the footer. But oh my God, like I have like a newfound appreciation for like people like Samantha on Sex and the City. Like they're grinding. It is hard because the first paragraph was like a descriptor paragraph, and I had to like, I'm saying like a lot. Like I've just become very conscious of that. Anyway, I had to put like, oh my God, I had to put where it was, why it was happening, when it was, how you could buy tickets. Like I said why, but like, why are they doing this? What does this represent? Like all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, I just had no clue that this was a thing. And I'm literally like, I literally want to be a journalist. Like everyone knows that about me. And I didn't know that press releases were so goddamn intense, and they are. And honestly, now I feel like Samantha on Sex and the City, because isn't she like a PR person? I'm pretty sure she's a PR person. I'd look it up, but my phone's dead. So, I have a newfound appreciation for her. I finished the press release with so much struggle, and the peer review today was honestly like just so interesting for me, because there were things that I put that I was like, I didn't even like think that would be an issue, you know? But now I know this could be my life. And I don't know if I ever want to write a press release ever again. But now it's going to be on my website and my portfolio. So like if you need someone to write you a press release, please don't ask me, because I will not volunteer myself for that, because it was hard. And that's all I need to say about press releases, because I feel like I've talked about it for 5 minutes. But oh my gosh, literally hard freaking work. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about is broadcasting Beckers, of course. I gotta say, I was thinking about this today, like as I was writing out what I wanted to say. Broadcasting Beckers has truthfully like turned into so many different things. It is about Paige Beckers, yes, but it could also very well be about UConn. It could be about AZ FUD. It could be about just women's basketball in general. So I apologize for how that's diverted. Maybe I should rename it, but like usually it is distantly related to Paige Beckers in some way. And I like the name. And she's on literally every single Instagram post, so she's going to stay in a segment of my show. And I always bring her up somehow. It's never like, broadcasting Beckers, this is what's happening in the WNBA, and I'm probably not even bring up her name. Like, usually I'm like, oh, Paige did this, and it was cute, because everything she does is cute. But one thing I did want to talk about, a few things I wanted to talk about in broadcasting Beckers. So, Paige, I know I brought this up maybe last week or the week before, that Paige had donated all the money that she made from a free throw contest, which was $50,000, to a like relief fund for Minnesota and immigrants in Minnesota, which is obviously like a very pressing issue right now. So that was like super duper cool. But she took it a step further and is now like, why am I speaking like this? She took it a step further and like extended it to opened it to the public, basically, like a fund sponsored by Paige Beckers, and she's working with this organization. I wish I wrote down the name. That is something I didn't do, so silly me. But yeah, I know I had mentioned it last week, but she really is like taking it the extra steps, so that's so freaking cool of her, and I love her so much, and we've been knowing this. In other exciting news, backstory, because always. So basically, a few months ago, I had ran across, I had looked up early on, like before they even released the schedule, if UConn would be coming to Chicago for like Loyola, DePaul, whatever division. I didn't know who they played. So I know there was a Loyola game. I don't know when it was. Don't ask. I don't remember. I did not go to that. It must have been really early on, or like maybe it hasn't happened yet, but they do play against DePaul, which DePaul plays at the Wintrust arena, which I've been there before. I went to a Sky game at Wintrust, and it was super fun. I went by myself, which I tend to do, like for sports games. I tend to go by myself, which honestly, like, I kind of like it that way because sometimes my reactions are kind of like guttural and embarrassing. But um, yeah, I went to a Sky game in Wintrust. I love it. And I had like duly noted that DePaul played there. So I got an ad on my Instagram months ago that UConn was playing DePaul at Wintrust. And like obviously I want to see AZ, I want to see Sarah, I want to see KK, like Morgan, Chelly, all these people. Like that would be literally insane. So I like put it in the back of my head. I was like, okay, when it gets closer, I'll buy tickets. And you know, I really like at the time I was like, those are gonna be ridiculously priced. And then life changed, and the game was on an important date, and I couldn't miss that. So I was like, okay, so I really do have to like forget about this. Like I can't go to this game. Like I'll catch it another time. Like I live here now, whatever. And then a few days ago, I got a ad again. Like it keeps pushing me this ad because literally all I talk about is Paige Becker. So of course it's pushing me this ad. And it was the DePaul UConn game. And I was like, okay, like I could go now. Like maybe let me check the tickets. And I found like a good ticket, not in like the lower bowl, but like the upper bowl that was like, I mean, there's like 3 sections. There's like right on like the court, and then there's like a little extra section, and then there's one like little one above that. And I was like, I should just do this. Like this would I'll like be fangirling out the whole time. So I checked the tickets, and they were $20 for that like upper, like the second tier, and like kind of like caddy corner to the basket. So like I would actually be able to see because the Chicago Sky game, I sat in like pretty much the same place, and it ended up working out super well. And I had the best time ever. So I was like, this would be so different because yes, like I am like a big Angel Reese girl. I'm a big Haley Van Liff girl. And when I went to the Chicago Sky game, it was New York Liberty. So Sabrina Ionescu, Brianna Stewart, Natasha Cloud, like all these people. So that was a big freaking deal. But like, I don't know what it is. UConn was kind of like my precursor before I got into like the W. So it's like a little bit like more near and dear because that was what I got into before I got into the W. So I'm super excited. I bought the tickets. I will definitely be talking about it. It's February 4th. I'm going to have to take the red line to get there, which is low-key terrifying. Or no, I think it's the green line and then the red line back, which, again, terrifying. But I did that in September when I went to the Sky game, so I can do it again. It's going to be okay. I can do it again. But I'm super excited, and I need to buy merch. I looked at a Foot Around Find Out shirt because when I was telling my mom about it, she was like, you do not need to buy it. And I was like, yes, I do. I don't go to DePaul. I don't go to UConn. Like, I'll look like a little outsider. I need the people to know I support UConn. So I found this like pink Foot Around Find Out shirt with like black lettering and then like the little UConn Husky. And I think I'm going to get that and do like a little off the shoulder moment. So like trust, like you'll see pictures. Like you're going to see pictures. I'm so excited. Honestly, like the most important part is the outfit. If we're being so for real, like what if AZ Fudd sees me and she's like, oh, what an adorable girl. What a cute little outfit she's got on. So, I'm excited about that. But yeah. So what else do I have to talk about? Okay. So I talked about the UConn game. So we obviously, if you've listened consistently to this podcast, you know about the CBA negotiation between the PNBA and, did I say that right? Women's Players. No, I didn't say that right. But like the Players Association of the W and the commissioners and all of these other mean, annoying people. Kathy, you know I'm talking about you. She's widely known to not be liked on this podcast. And, like, why would I like her? So, why am I blanking? Okay, so, like, we know that's going on. Like, quick summary in case you don't know. Basically, the deal ran up and players are negotiating a more fair paycheck. I mean, like, among other things. Like, let me actually go find it because I've literally talked about it. It might be in here somewhere. Oh, I think it's in my notes app. But basically what they're fighting for is right now, I think I could explain this well. So with like the revenue that the league makes, which the W is bigger than it has ever been. So it's making a lot of money right now. With the revenue that the league makes, the players make 9% of that revenue, which is nothing. And like, for example, in the NBA, players make 50% of that revenue. So like, obviously a major, major, major discrepancy. I mean, we're talking millions of dollars that they're losing out on because the commissioners are greedy, greedy people. And so missing out on a lot of money. And then also the league has just made some like very like dirty deals with them. So they didn't even ask for 50%. They asked for 30%, which is not, in the grand scheme, if you're comparing it to other leagues, is not that much, especially for a large growing league that has been around forever and continues to be growing. They're asking for 30 of that revenue, and the WNBA was basically like, I guess we could do that, but like, let's take away all these other things that we're giving you. And it was like player housing, which is incredibly important to rookies who have just moved to this new city, maybe don't have NIL and media deals yet, like really cannot pay for, they can't pay for this. And so to take that away would just be a major like F you to like how much they truly care about the athletes. So like, yes, they'd be making like 21% more revenue, but they'd also be taking away like care from the players. And like, I'm pretty sure they talked about health insurance, which is really concerning that they'd even consider taking that away, because in what world is health insurance achievable in the United States? Because it isn't. So basically, no deal has been reached. And what that means is that we could potentially reach a lockout, which is super concerning because if we get a lockout, then it's like, okay, so there's going to be no WNBA season. So like they're already like advocating for like these free agents. They're already talking about free agents and all that bull crap. And like we don't even have a guaranteed season. We haven't even reached a deal yet. So it's like I know they posted something about like honorary draft members, like Kobe Bryant's daughter was one. And it's like, why are you talking about these things when you're about to lock your players out of the league, you know? So after that summary, let me get to my point. So basically, Natasha Cloud, who I don't know what, she must hold revenue in Unrivaled. I'm not for sure. Like, obviously I know Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier are the players that brought us Unrivaled, but I know there are like numerous players who hold revenue, for example, Paige. So I'm going to have to guess Natasha holds some revenue in the league, but she had mentioned that the great thing about Unrivaled is that if they reached a lockout, they could just extend the Unrivaled season. Because it would no longer be like a scheduling issue. And that was like kind of a jaw-dropping moment for me, because I'm like, why are we even, which, yes, Unrivaled, I've talked about this before. Unrivaled and the WNBA are two complete different formats. So like the W is not 3-on-3. You know, like there's major differences in that. And games that are 3-on-3 are obviously incredibly different than games that are regular basketball. So like we wouldn't be getting the same content in Unrivaled as the W. It would be different. The player contracts are different. There's less players in Unrivaled, even though that there are like reserve players, because I think there's only 6 spots on the team because you only have 3 players on the court. So it would be different than the W. So it's definitely not like okay, let's just delete the W and keep Unrivaled. That's just not gonna happen, because I think they'd rather reach a deal before they just like forgot about the W. But with all that being said, it was very much so like a jaw agape moment, because I don't know, no one had really brought that up. It was like, okay, like now what? Like if that is possible, Because honestly, like right now as we speak, I'm like pretty dead sure that there's going to be a lockout. So we'll just have to see about that. But, it'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting. So with that being said, speaking of Unrivaled, Paige Beckers is the top 5 scorer in the league, averaging 24 points per game. Insane, considering, first of all, that it's 3-on-3, which is a complete different format if you watch basketball. And the other, like, really crazy difference to me is that I don't know. Like, just the whole, like, point system of Unrivaled is different as well. I wish that I had, like, thought out what I wanted to say there, because it truly is, like, built completely different. So a 24-point average, I feel like, is harder to achieve in Unrivaled than in the W. But, top 5 scorer. And, like, I know people were like, well, she's never going to be MVP. Obviously, she's not going to be MVP this year. I just don't think that is, like, obtainable or ethical, considering it's her first year in the league. As much as that would be very cool, she is a rookie, So people were like, oh, but she won't get MVP. Okay, but she's still top 5 in the top 5 scorers. I don't know. I think she might be the top 3 even. But crazy. Absolutely crazy. And for people to, I just can't believe there's people that don't think Paige Beckers is good at basketball. But, you can't have it all. So, yeah. Why do I keep forgetting what I'm going to say? I'm, like, literally blanking. I told you guys, Red Bull was a horrible idea. But I was, like, really struggling today, so it was like, necessary. I mean, to keep myself alive. Hi, babe! Come say hi to the pod.
Girl. Okay.
Come say hi.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Kamari's first time on the pod.
It's my debut. I'm so excited.
Kamari Crew's debut.
Your
I
hair
feel like I've
looks so
talked about you
great.
before. Does it really?
Yes, the clockwork is
Thank
eating.
you.
Wait, I have
it's a
those hair
little clockwork.
clips.
Do you actually?
Yes, but I literally stepped on mine, so it broke.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry to hear that.
With my Doc Martens.
Oh my gosh. Stomp us. What
What
was
are
I
we
gonna
talking
say?
about today?
Right now, I'm talking about a slew of things today, but right now I'm talking about the CBA negotiations and the WNBA.
Okay, tell me about it.
Okay, I just explained it to everybody, but you're going to hear about it too. So basically, how the WNBA works is obviously they reach these like contract endpoints, and then they have to work with the Players Association to reach a new contract. And in the WNBA, the players get a 9% revenue from the whole league. And like, for example, in the NBA, players get a 50% revenue. So like, you can understand the discrepancies in payrolls that way. Like, they're making millions in the NBA and they can't even reach 200,000 in the W. So players were like, hey, can we get 30% revenue? And they were like, no, we can't do that unless we take away your health insurance and your team housing. So that's been a major issue because the WNBA commission sucks and they don't do their job.
So how can you fix that?
So basically what I think is going to happen, my theory is there's going to be a league lockout, which is where there will be no W season. And that is how they could
protest?
Yeah. I think that the Players Association is going to reach a lockout, which wouldn't be good for either because they wouldn't be making salary and the WNBA would be receiving no commission. But I feel like that would be the push.
Yeah, because that's just literally like a workers' strike.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same exact thing.
Okay.
But I just don't think that they're going to reach a negotiation anytime soon because every time they're like, hey, we want like just a little bit more of your revenue. Shut up. She's
Cut that out.
No, I'm not cutting that out. No, I'm not.
Because I just did all that work so I didn't burp into the mic.
No, I'm not cutting that out. That's staying. That's staying. Sorry,
okay, fine,
that's staying.
whatever.
But basically what I was
It's
talking
natural,
about
everyone
is,
does it.
have you heard of Unrivaled? It's a women's basketball league that's 3-on-3 that was invented by 2 W players so that players...
scary.
No, it's great. So that players wouldn't have to play internationally in their off-season to make ends meet. And they get paid probably 4 times more in one 2-month season than they get paid in the W for one season.
Really?
Yeah, and it's 3-on-3, and it's like basically the whole roster is just W players. Like, that's what it is. Some international.
How did 2 players found that and somehow the players make more money? But they don't
Well, the
really
players
even
are making more money because their revenue is split properly.
Oh, but
So,
okay. How did the players who founded it make enough money to find it?
crowdfunding. They had major like corporations helping them basically.
Okay. This
But
is so interesting.
yeah, it's very interesting.
There's
and
like a whole world out there. that I didn't
Unrivaled
know
is
about.
also incredibly easier to watch. You don't have to pay $35 for a whole season of
35?
yes.
On what? ASD?
WNBA League Pass, which is the only place that you can watch W games, is $35 for a season.
The only
And that's a
place?
3-month season. Only place.
That is so stupid.
It's so stupid. They'll do like one preseason game on like live, and that's all that they give people. So yeah, it's really expensive to watch the W. And Unrivaled, it's like $10, I think, to watch 2 months of like nightly games. There are games pretty much every night in Unrivaled.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a great league. So basically what happened is Natasha Cloud, who plays for the New York Sirens, was like, why don't we just let the lockout happen and extend the Unrivaled season, because it's a players' league. Like, they invented it, so they can do what they want. So that was kind of the crazy thing that I was talking about, because it was kind of like jaw-dropped that she said that, because she's going to catch major heat from the WNBA commission for saying that.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Well,
There's a lot to it.
literally, there's a whole world out there. Did you
There
see
just
that
is a
tweet?
whole world out there. No.
You know, remember that? Never mind. I'll tell you about it later.
Okay. But what else am I talking? Oh, today I haven't even got to this yet, and I'm 26 minutes in. My like overall theme is figure skating, because I know I mentioned that I was gonna talk about that.
To do this for 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, I'm like really bad at this. And then also I was gonna talk about fashion and women's tennis, and then I kind of just like opened this whole new world that I didn't know existed. So I also want to talk about that. Who knows what we'll get to?
Yeah, so wonderful.
It is wonderful.
Huh? Did she get?
That is embarrassing. I was just muted for a while. Anyway, so sorry, I got sidetracked. But I'm back. You didn't know there was a pause until I really biffed it with that muted mic right there. But sorry, I was talking to my bestie. So, I was talking about the CBA negotiations. I talked about the top 5 score. Me and Corey talked about the CBA negotiations. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out where I was at. Okay, so guys, I have so much to talk about, and I only have 33 minutes left. So what does that say about me? Literally. But one thing that I've been wanting to talk about for probably 2-3 episodes now is figure skating and how figure skating works. And more specifically, the USA women's team this year, because there's some like really cool people on the team right now. And I feel like I just need to talk about it. But I feel like one thing that people don't know about figure skating is how incredibly difficult it is to score. So I wanted to talk about that for a brief moment, because I feel like it's really important in understanding like how it works. So this is going to be really hard. Wait, I'm going to have to like really think about this. Okay. So right now, I am talking about singles and not doubles, because doubles rules are so different. Like, my only understanding of figure skating before this was icebreaker. So, like, you could understand that I literally have no clue what I'm talking about, like, until right now. So, every jump or spin is an element, and each element has a base value based off of how difficult the thingy is. So that's one aspect of the score. One aspect. There's like a gajillion. Like, I hardly understand like gymnastics stuff, but I understand gymnastics more than I do figure skating, because it's crazy. So every element has a base score, base value, and it's strictly based off difficulty of whatever trick that is. So every like element that you do is an existing thing. Basically, okay, so how like new tricks work that you like get named after, how those happen is you have to like do it at the world championship level, and then they have to decide, like the freaking world ice skating committee, figure skating committee, I don't know, they have to decide if it's like legit and legal, and then from that that becomes a element that you can do. One, like an example of an element that made it to the world championship stage and then became illegal is a backflip, for example, which is absolutely insane. And if you haven't seen a video of that, like I'd seriously recommend looking it up because it just like is unfathomable. But so there's elements, that's one aspect of the score. And then composition, which is how the routine is designed. So choreo, music, all that. Presentation, which is expression and emotion, and that can also include your costume and what role that plays and all this crazy stuff. It's so intense. Like they literally can judge you on what you're wearing. Like it's ridiculous. But next thing is skating skill. So like flow, speed, power, like speed, like they actually have to be fast. Like it's not just to get momentum, they genuinely have to. And then like the flow of the choreo and the tricks and such and all the elements. So yeah. And then this is the crazy part to me is the deductions. So the deductions include program timing, which is like you have an allotted amount of time to get on the ice, perform, and get off. And each program has the same amount. And if you can't meet that expectation for whatever reason, if you show up on the ice late, if you do something on the ice, whatever it may be, you can get deductions for that. So that's one, which makes sense. Like that's understandable. And then the one that kind of upsets me is the illegal elements, because I feel like you should be able to do like cool, fun new tricks. So they can get major points docked for illegal elements because hello. Like they're usually pretty insane. So then another one is a wardrobe malfunction. I can't like think of one off the top of my head, but say they have like, I guess you could say if they have like a headpiece or like some piece of their costuming comes off and ends up on the ice, or like, I don't know, all sorts of things. Like something happens with your skate, point deducted or points deducted. Falls, obviously, that's an obvious one that I could understand. Interruptions, which I'm more curious about, like I don't know what they mean by interruptions. Like someone comes on the ice. Like I don't know. I don't quite get that one. Choreography restrictions. So if you are skating at a lower level, if it doesn't go with the music, if it doesn't go with the costuming, that would be a choreography restriction. And then for partners, it's ice lifts exceeding the time limit, which I didn't know there was a time limit. And if I'm being honest, if I was a person figure skating and doing doubles, I would want to be back on the ice as soon as possible, because that sounds horrifying. There's a reason I'm not in figure skating. But there is 6 jumps and how do I pronounce that? There's 6 jumps. There's the axel, which I feel like we're all very familiar with the axel. If you've ever watched the Olympics, you've seen an axel performed, and most familiar is the triple axel. That's like the holy grail. Like that's what you want to see people doing. Takes a long time to get there. The Salkov, which I'm not quite familiar with, the toe loop and the loop, and then the Lutz and the flip. I don't know what the flip is, but I'm scared. We know it's not a backflip, that's illegal, but I don't know what that is. And then based off of the jumps, there's edge jumps and there's toe jumps. So like you'll get more points for doing an element or a jump on the inside or the outside edge of your skate. Which what I don't understand about that is like, how do they see this? How are they like looking at this choreography, meaning like, oh, they jumped with using the outside of their skate. What? Like, I don't understand. I don't get that. But, whatever. This is why I'm not in figure skating again. But another reason I really wanted to talk about it, because I feel like it's so overlooked how absolutely intense these rules are. And people watch figure skating, they're like, that looks easy. And then you put on a pair of skates and you're like, oh my God, this is miserable. Because I know I can't skate very well. Literally ask Kayla. I can't skate. In a program, so like free skate, whatever. In your program, there's 7 elements allowed. And again, the elements are the jump, spins, or lifts. So everything else is like just like speed skating around the arena and doing these flourishes. Like there's just so much that goes into it. And then basically, okay. So another thing that goes in is the technical element score, or the TES as they call it. And it's points for every jump on an integer scale. So 0 means it's good. +5 means it's awesome, and -5 means like, ew, like what are we doing? So like my understanding is they start from 0 and then they get these like integer scores, but the integer score system isn't the only thing that like exists, because yes, you have the integer score points, which is 5, 0, -5, whatever. Mind you, apparently it's like really hard to get a +5. Like you're most likely just gonna get 0. Like what? You get 0 points for your elements? Whatever. So not only does the TES, the technical element score, go into it, but also the composition, the presentation, the skating skills, any deductions you have, all of that. And like usually I think their scores are in the 100s, I think. So like that's a lot of like thought and things that go into that. Truly, like I researched this for a good hot minute. I've gone back to it a few times and I still cannot fully grasp how to make very much sense of it. But I also think that's because I've never ever figure skated before. That has never been something that I've even attempted. So I feel like now that I understand it a little bit, like I'll be able to make more sense of technically like a good or a bad program, or just an average program. Like I feel like most people will watch figure skating and be like, wow, that's good. Wow, that's good. Wow, that's good. Wow, that's good. And there's like, the only time they're going to say something is bad is if someone falls, but there's so much more that goes into it that through like the figure skating scoring system makes it good, bad, average, whatever, So now I feel like I have like such a great appreciation for figure skaters, because it's so intense. And honestly, like the most misogynistic and corrupt scoring system ever, because I feel like if a judge didn't like you, they didn't like you. You're cooked. I feel like that was one thing with Tanya Harding. She always felt like she was like being wrongfully like persecuted by the judges for like they didn't like her outlook, they didn't like her attitude, that kind of thing. Like those kind of things play a role in some sports. That doesn't really happen. Like if you had a bad attitude, like a pat on the back, maybe quit that. With figure skating, it can mean everything for your score. So I do truly have a greater appreciation for figure skaters now that I've looked into it. The 2 people that I wanted to talk about were Alyssa Liu and Amber Glenn, which are both on the USA women's figure skating team for the 2026 Olympics, which is coming up soon, very, very soon. And I'll definitely be talking about that more. I know I've brought it up probably every week since I've come back, but yeah. So Alyssa Liu, which is a pretty recognizable name if you watch the Winter Olympics or pay attention to any of like the World Championships. She was a rising star at 13 years old. She was the youngest U.S. world champion at 14 and defended that title, competed in the 2022 Beijing Olympics, and finished 6th. So obviously she's got a big roster. I know, like, I've watched a few videos of her, and she has talked about how her father, who is a lawyer, basically spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to make sure she got where she needed to in figure skating. She briefly quit the sport at 16 because she wanted to live normally and realized how much of like a mental toll that the sport was taking over her. And honestly, so notable and so very Gen Z to be like, I don't want to do this anymore and just take a break, even though she was literally one of the greatest figure skaters in the USA and World Championship figure skating ring. But anyway. Okay. She came back at 18, and she was the first U.S. woman to be the champion since 2006. So, like, she came back with a bang. And one of the really cool things in one of the videos I watched about her is that her coaches, she has 2 coaches, I believe, they said she came back and she was like, listen, I want to pick my song. I want to pick my costume. I want to pick the elements that I'm doing. I just want your help. Like, it was like, this is me. This is like, I'm picking this, I'm doing this, that kind of thing. Like, she was very much so set in her own ways, which is so cool because in figure skating, it's just not like that. It's to usually men decide what your routine's going to be, what you look like, what your song is, all those things. There's just absolutely all individuality stripped from the routine that they spend so much time on. So she said, screw that. I'm going to do my own thing. And that ended up working out really well for her. I believe her song is a Laufey song. And then, or Lefe, I don't remember how you say her name. I'm going to be honest. I don't really listen to her music. But what was her other song? Oh, Applause by Lady Gaga. And her costumes were absolutely stunning. And one thing that has been really bothering like the older generation of people who watch the Olympics is that she has halo hair. She has like rings. And it's so cool. And she looks so cool. But she's just so Gen Z, and I love her to death. So I'm really, really excited to watch her. I feel like she'll do good stuff for the Winter Olympics for the USA, and I'm so excited. So yeah, that's Alyssa Liu. She's so cool. Can't wait to see what she does. But next person I want to talk about is Amber Glenn, and she's been around for a lot longer than Alyssa Liu. I believe she's 26 years old, 26, 27 years old. She started at 4 years old in 2004. That's way too hot. Yeah, it's 26. In 2004, she won the 2014 junior title, and then in 2021 broke through with silver, and then took a break for her mental health. And while she was on this mental break, she came out about the eating disorder issues that she had developed being a figure skater, which is very prominent in the sport and a major, major, major issue because it's incredibly misogynistic. And beauty is just about everything with figure skating. And for some reason, the standard is to weigh absolutely nothing. So she quit. I believe she spent a week in a mental institution before she said, I want to go back. And then that ended up being the worst absolute possible thing she could be doing. And she quit again. During her break, she came out as bisexual in an interview. I believe she identifies as queer now. She came out in an interview not thinking anyone would think a single thing of it. You know, it was a small interview. And it ended up being like worldwide news. Everyone knew about it. And so crazy. She said like her grandma found out she was bisexual because she saw it on the news. Like that's what had happened. So then she came back, but she missed qualifying in 2022. And in 2024, she was the U.S. champion. In 2025, she defended the U.S. title and is going to the Winter Olympics on the same team as Alyssa Liu. And when I tell you, the videos that they do together are so cute. But the really cool thing about Amber Glenn is for the longest time, she's been trying to nail the triple axel. And it was just such a hit or miss. And then she finally landed it after a few missteps at competitions along the way. And now she can do triple axel. So for her to be 26 years old in a sport that essentially by 18 you are seen as done, like that's it for you. For her to be 26 and still absolutely dominating the sport and being a household name for the Olympics is so, so, so cool. And she's also the LGBTQ representation that we don't always see at the Olympics or in sports in general. One of my favorite things about Amber Glenn is her really fun musical interpretation. Like one of her routines, I believe, is to Like a Prayer by Madonna, and it's so good. It's so, so good. And she's always had such interesting music taste. I believe she's done Michael Jackson, like music you just don't typically hear when you think of figure skating. Like when you watch figure skating, it's going to be classical, it's going to be soft, but she does these really fun songs and just takes her own twist with it. Like I know one competition she wore pants, and that was like a big deal because I guess you can't do that, but whatever. Anyway, she's just a diva. Like we just love her. And so appreciate her for being like such a voice. But yeah, Amber Glenn, we love to see it. She's going to be in the 2026 Olympics in Milan. So I'm really excited. And I'm excited to watch her and Alyssa just like absolutely kill it, because we know that's going to happen because they're both just absolute divas. Are mentally healthy divas, because they took the break they needed, and we should normalize that. Okay, anyway, I finally talked about figure skating. Wow. Look at me go. Look at me go. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about, low-key, like, turned into a whole thing that I didn't, like, intend for it to. But, Naomi Osaka, which is a well-known name in tennis, especially, like, for female players. Well-known name. Recently, especially Coco Gauff, Naomi Osaka. I feel like that's the names you think of in women's tennis lately, in the past few years. She is in the Australian Open for 2026, and she played against Sorana Cirstea in the second round. And she took a medical timeout and ended up coming back. And while she was back in between serves and like a set that she had won, she was like hyping herself up. She was like, come on, come on. And you could hear her, like she was like clapping against her racket, like that kind of thing. But like, okay, you know, like it's a big, I don't know, like you just don't worry about that. And so apparently Sorana took so much offense to that. She was so upset that she ended up going to like the ref of tennis. What do they call that in tennis? I don't know. And complaining about it, being like, she can't do that. She can't do that. And the person was like, oh, technically she can. And so during their like handshake at the end of the match, they had this really odd argument where Sorana was basically like, you just can't do that. That's so disrespectful. And then Naomi was like, okay, like, no, it's not. Like, this is not like an uncommon thing. So it was definitely like odd for that to happen. But, you know, people are really interesting sometimes in tennis. I feel like tennis is such an interesting sport. But Naomi after was like, I really didn't think that that was like in any way disrespectful. I was just hyping myself up like one does. And honestly, what a diva for being like, okay, like, and what are you going to do about it, you know? So we love her. We love to see it. But yeah, that really just like irked me. And then Sorana afterwards was like, she ruined my last Australian Open, which is such bull. Like that's such a stupid thing to be petty over. And if I'm being honest, I think it has everything to do with Naomi Osaka's race, because tennis is an incredibly misogynistic and white privileged sport. And we've been knowing that because it started on privilege. But the next day, Naomi Osaka withdrew due to an injury because as I'd previously stated, she took a medical timeout. And people were like, oh, it was because of that argument. No, it was genuinely like she could not be competing anymore. It was unsafe for her to compete. So I need everyone to shut up about that because that's not what happened. So, okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about is fashion in tennis, because Naomi Osaka is currently like a modern fashionista in tennis. She's very much so known for how divalicious she is with her tennis outfits. And she gets so creative with it and really shows her Japanese culture and ties that into her outfits. It's very, very cool, and dedicates a lot of her outfits to people in her life. It's so cool. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is like the origin of fashion in tennis, because I feel like we do know that tennis is such like a fashion-based sport. Like it is important what you wear to a match. It means a lot. And I was like, okay, but why? Like why is it that way? So I looked into it a little bit. So fashion in tennis started when racket tennis became a thing, and it was created from croquet. And the cool thing about racket tennis at the time was that it was a sport that women and men could enjoy. So what that meant was it became more of like, okay, let me find a romantic partner through racket tennis. And with that, the women would dress for the attention of men, because it was genuinely a social sport. And so for the longest time, this was in the 1870s, so it was like long skirts, long sleeves, almost like flats, like shoes you shouldn't even be shoes that are dangerous to play tennis in. All because it was like this romantic thing. So after a little bit after that, they're keeping this up, but white was the color that women, specifically women, wore in tennis. And they said the reason that they wore white was because it kept them cool. But truthfully and creepily enough, it was more about showing purity and virtue to make the sport look better. And then when you could finally see color on your TV, it became cooler to do colorized outfits, which also attracted more attention to the sport when it came to like being broadcast on TV, because they're wearing these fun, colorful outfits rather than this like purity culture white. And in the 70s, there was a battle of the sexes match, and the men were dressed however they want and not, subjectively, and the women were told to dress in a way to sexualize them for, yet again, more viewers and more attention to the sport. And if you look at the outfits in the Battle of the Sexes, they're like almost not even functional outfits because of how incredibly short the skirts are that they're wearing. So it's like, we know your motives, like we know what you're trying to do, and it's creepy and I don't like it. But that's men. And who was in charge of the sport forever? Men. So fast forward a little bit. Problematic. In 2013, during a Wimbledon match, Meredith Richards was fined for switching her shirt around because it was on the wrong way. Mind you, men take off their shirts in tennis frequently and on the sidelines where everyone can see to change their shirt if they're too sweaty. And she did it with a sports bra on, and she got fined by Wimbledon for taking off her shirt. So obviously the misogyny is just absolutely leaking from this sport. And moving on from the misogyny, because it should not be ignored, but it's definitely freaking annoying. Venus and Serena Williams are like literally the pioneers, not only of like modern tennis and female tennis, but also of like the actual fashion of tennis. I like remember growing up seeing the outfits that Serena would wear and be like, okay, not only is she literally the best tennis player ever, but she also wears the cutest outfits ever and looks so cool doing it. And I feel like Naomi Osaka and Coco Gauff are like the current fashion girlies of tennis. And so Naomi Osaka this weekend at the Australian Open wore a jellyfish-themed outfit for her daughter, and it was beautiful and magnificent. It was these beautiful greens and blues. She came out with like an umbrella. The jacket that she wore during Roma has these like beautiful ruffles on it, and then when she took it off, it was this beautiful ruffled dress. It was just so pretty and like so freaking perfect. And she made such an interest, and I just know that pissed her opponent off even more because she looked freaking fabulous, like she always does. I know on my Instagram post, when this episode comes out, the picture I chose of Naomi is of her wearing that like nice jacket with a big green bow on the back and like still just playing tennis like anyone else would, and it's so cool. I think it's literally the coolest thing ever, and I just love her to death. So, God, she's so cool. I love her. But yeah, that's like what I wanted to say about Naomi Osaka and just the history of fashion in sports. And one thing that like now it's got me thinking like I think I need to do an episode about like the significance of fashion in sports, because every sport is so different and every sport has its history. And usually in women's sports, it's meant to objectify. One of the things I think about is volleyball. Like, you used to not wear spandex in volleyball. You wore basketball shorts, and now it's turned into this thing. And it's just so interesting and so very telling of who is in charge of dressing us for these sports, which is usually men. So, yeah, I feel like that's something maybe I should talk about in the next coming weeks. I think I have something planned for next week. I've yet to reveal it because I need to confirm, and I didn't do that. So you'll just see what next week is all about, I guess. It's just a little surprise for now. But that's my Femme Forward forecast. Or forward, whatever I say, you know. Next week is a big fat question mark because I didn't do my job and confirm with next week. So, with that being said, stay sweaty, stay sapphic, and stay baddie on and off the field. I'll catch you next time. Same vibe, same mic, same energy. Bye.